Hi there, folks. Welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel and our look back at 2024 truck sales. The entire year is now in the books, so we can go down the list and look at who were the big winners and losers from 2024. And we're going to do this for both the US and the Canadian market. So we'll start with US truck sales, and then for my Canadians, if you go down in the description, I'll throw a link down there that'll take you right to Canadian truck sales because they will come after. But if you want to skip there, you can jump to it. Now, let's dive into the numbers. Coming in at number 8 on the list is the GMC Hummer EV. Now, this is the Hummer SUV and pickup truck combined because in the United States, they don't break out those numbers, so we don't know how many of which body style sold. What we do know is that GMC managed to move 13,993 Hummer EVs last year, which is good for a 331% increase. So still not a huge number of trucks sold, but that's definitely up quite a bit from 2023. Coming in at number 7 on the list, we have the Nissan Titan. Now, we already know that the Titan is exiting the market, so it's not surprising to hear it's at the bottom of the list. In 2024, they sold 14,662 Titans. That's down 23.6%. At number 6, we get to the Ford F-150 Lightning. Now, I do have to be clear that the overall Ford F-Series sales number includes Lightning sales. However, they do break out that number just for the Lightning, so I thought it'd be interesting to put it in there as its own product just to see where it would fall on the list. And in this case, it's at number 6. Ford sold 33,510 Lightnings in 2024, and that is good for a 38.7% increase. So Lightning sales are going up. It's just definitely true that the demand was not as big as Ford thought it would be at the beginning, but it still was a positive year for the Lightning. Coming in at number 5 on the list, the Toyota Tundra, and the Tundra had a strong year in the US. Sales are up 27.4%. Toyota managed to move 159,528 Tundras in 2024. At number 4 on the list, we get to the GMC Sierra lineup. And yes, this includes all trucks that wear the Sierra badge, HDs and big trucks included. Now, GMC managed to sell 324,734 trucks last year. That's good for an increase of 9.8%. So some small gains there for GMC in the US. At number 3 on the list, we get to Ram Trucks, and this is the obvious loser of 2024, as Ram managed to sell 373,120 trucks, but that is a decrease of 16% year over year. So Ram had a tough 2024. It'll be interesting to see if they can rebound in 2025. Number 2 on the list, we get to the Chevrolet Silverado. Chevy managed to sell 560,264 units, which is good for a 0.8% increase. So up, but just a little bit. And coming in at number 1, no surprise here, we have the Ford F-Series. F-Series is up 2% for 2024. Ford managed to sell 765,649 F-Series. So once again, America's best-selling truck is the Ford F-Series. But to be clear, if you combine Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra sales, yes, General Motors did once again sell more trucks overall than Ford. They just split it between 2 brands, so they can't claim that top spot. But yes, if you just want to talk about which company sold the most trucks, the answer is GM. What's the best-selling truck lineup on the market? That is the Ford F-Series. Now it's time to take a look at the mid-size truck market in the US. So coming in at number 7 on the list, we have the GMC Canyon. Canyon is actually up 70% in 2024 year over year. So it was a big year of gains over at GMC. At number 6 on the list, we get to the Jeep Gladiator. Now, just like Ram, most of the brands at Stellantis, Jeep included, had a rough year. Gladiator sold 42,123 units. That is down 24% year over year. So, like I said with Ram, it'll be curious to see if Jeep can have a bounce back in 2025. At number 5, we get to the Honda Ridgeline, which just outsold that Gladiator by just a few hundred units. Honda managed to sell 42,421 Ridgelines, and that is a decrease of 12.7% for Honda's little midsizer. At number 4 on the list, we get to the Ford Ranger. Ford managed to sell 46,205 Rangers last year, which is good for a 42.9% increase. So some big gains here by the Ranger as well. At number 3, we get to the Nissan Frontier. Nissan sold 68,155 Frontiers in 2024, and that is good for an increase of 17.2%. So some really strong gains also made by the Frontier. At number 2 on the list, we arrive at the Chevrolet Colorado. Chevy sold 98,012 Colorados last year, which is good for a 37.9% increase. So you've probably seen the trend. A lot of these mid-sized trucks are up when it comes to year-over-year sales, but that's not the case for our number 1 truck, which of course is the Toyota Tacoma. Toyota still managed to sell 192,813 trucks. So, almost 100,000 more trucks than the next competitor in line. However, that is good for a decrease of 17.9%. So yes, Tacoma sales were down, but this was the switchover year to the new generation of truck, so that might have something to do with that. We'll have to wait into 2025 to see if those sales rebound. Tacoma is still the clear winner in the midsize segment, but that gap is shrinking a little bit, and that's a pretty big hit for Tacoma, while a lot of the other guys picked up sales in 2024. Although I should mention that Tacoma had a strong Q4 of 2024, so it does seem like the sales are picking back up. Now, just before we jump into Canadian sales, I do want to talk compact trucks because the Ford Maverick had a strong year and the Hyundai Santa Cruz did not. Hyundai managed to sell 32,033 Santa Cruzes in the United States in 2024, which is good for a 13% decrease. On the flip side, Ford managed to sell 131,142 Mavericks, which is good for a 39.4% increase. And yes, that also means that if the Maverick was inserted into the midsize truck sales chart, it would be number 2, only behind the Tacoma. The Maverick outsold every other midsize truck on the market in 2024. Well, there you have it, folks. That is 2024 US truck sales. Lots of brands actually saw some pretty nice gains. Ram and Jeep, those are your really clear losers last year for 2024. Now, let's come on home north of the border and talk Canadian truck sales. Coming in at number 7 on the list is the Hummer EV pickup truck. And yes, here in Canada, GM actually splits out Hummer EV truck from Hummer EV SUV. So we know that the truck version sold 610 units, which is actually good for an increase of 351%. Coming in at number 6 on the list is the Hummer EV's brother truck, the Chevy Silverado EV. Now, Chevy managed to sell 1,938 of its all-electric Silverados, and there are no numbers previously to compare to because 2024 was the first year that the Silverado EV has been on the market. Moving up, we get to number 5, which in Canada is the Toyota Tundra. Now, Toyota Canada won't give me specific sales numbers for the Tundra. All they would tell me is that they sold over 16,000 Tundras last year. So assumably that means the number's between 16 and 17,000, which means it's roughly up about 20%. And yes, that actually makes it Tundra's best year in Canada ever. So a strong year for the Tundra north of the border. At number 4 on the list, we get to the Chevy Silverado. Chevrolet Canada says they sold 52,078 Silverados last year, which is actually down 2%. So a little bit of a slide coming from the Silverado. At number 3, we get to Ram trucks, and Ram Canada actually splits out more numbers than the States, so we're gonna go over all of these. First of all, overall, all Ram trucks, so that's 1500 heavy duties right up to the 45 and 5500, the entire Ram truck division sold 56,992 trucks in Canada last year, which is down 24.2%. So as a division, Ram truck is way down, but then we can look at some specifics. So the Ram DS, which is going to be the Ram Classic. DS is the name for that body style. So Ram actually says that they sold 18,499 DSs or Classics, which is down by 44%. So Classic took a massive hit, and that is one of the reasons why the entire brand is down, is because they got rid of the Classic. They're no longer building that thing, and it was a big chunk of overall sales. Then they also said that the Ram DT, that's the new body style Ram, sold 22,667 units, down 21%. So the DT was down quite a bit as well, but not as much as the Classic. Getting rid of that truck really put a dent in sales. And that's especially true when you consider that the Ram Heavy Duty in Canada sold 13,904 units last year, and that is up 16%. So Ram HD had a strong year. It's just the half tons that have really been struggling, and again, killing off both the Hemi and the Classic really feels like two decisions that cost Ram a lot of sales in 2024. Now we get to number 2 on the list, the GMC Sierra. And this is always interesting to me because we flip-flop between the States and Canada. In the States, Chevrolet always outsells GMC. There's always more Silverados sold than Sierras. Whereas here in Canada, for many, many years, we were almost 50-50. And for the last couple of years, GMC has been outselling Chevy by a decent margin. So in 2024, GMC Sierra moved 59,912 units. That's about 7,000 more trucks than the Silverado. And for Sierra, that is up 0.4%. So just a tiny, tiny gain there for the Sierra, which lands at number 2. And we're back at number 1, which means we're back at the Ford F-Series. F-Series moved 133,857 trucks in Canada last year, and that's actually up by 8.5%. So a nice little gain there for Ford, and clear truck leadership. And yes, here in Canada, if you add up Silverado and Sierra, they don't outsell Ford F-Series. Here, the F-Series is the clear number 1. Now let's look at Canadian midsize truck sales, and we start at number 7 with the Jeep Gladiator. Yes, Gladiator's on the bottom of the list here in Canada. They moved 2,368 Gladiators, which is good for a 26% decrease in sales. Moving up to number 6 on our list, surprisingly, is the Nissan Frontier. Nissan sold 2,641 Frontiers in Canada last year, which is good for a 21% decrease. And that's why I say surprisingly, because in the States, the Frontier had a strong year and sales were up. Here in Canada, not so much. Frontier sales were down quite a bit. At number 5, we have a truck that reverses that trend, the Honda Ridgeline. The Ridgeline in Canada sold 3,435 units. That's up 10.3%. So in the States, the Ridgeline went down, but in Canada, sales are up, unlike that Frontier. So there's an interesting difference. And yes, this means the Ridgeline outsold both the Frontier and the Gladiator here in Canada last year. At the number 4 position, we arrive at the Ford Ranger. Ford says they sold 5,316 trucks last year, and that is good for a 94.2% increase. So a huge jump for Ford Ranger in Canada, and we'll have to see if that growth continues through 2025. At number 3, we land at the GMC Canyon. GMC sold 6,781 Canyons in 2024, good for an increase of 80.8%. So strong growth for GMC north and south of the border. At number 2, we get to the Chevrolet Colorado, and yes, the Colorado outsold the Canyon, but not by a lot. Colorado sales come in at 8,138 trucks, which is an increase of 33.7%, so some nice growth for those GM midsize trucks. And in the number 1 position, we arrive at the Toyota Tacoma. Now, like I said, Toyota Canada won't provide me with the specific number of trucks sold. They simply said over 10,000, which once again means we can assume it's between 10,000 and 11,000. That means that the Tacoma is down roughly 39% year over year in 2024. And yes, that also means if you add up Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyon sales, they outsell the Tacoma when combined. So GM did sell the most mid-sized trucks, but if we're looking at a single nameplate, the Tacoma reigns supreme, but for how much longer? There's only a 2,000 truck difference between the Colorado and the Tacoma in 2024. So 2025 will be very interesting to watch and see if Tacoma loses that crown here in Canada or if sales pick right back up again. And quickly, we'll touch on the compact truck market for Canada, and it's the same as the States. The Maverick had a great year, the Santa Cruz not so much. Hyundai managed to sell 2,574 Santa Cruzes in Canada last year. That's a 27% decrease, while Ford managed to move 8,099 Mavericks, which is a 13.3% increase. And just like the States, if you were to take the Maverick and insert it into the mid-size sales chart, it would be number 3 overall, selling less than 100 fewer trucks than the Chevy Colorado. So it is right up there in the mix when it comes to the strongest small trucks on sale right now. Well, folks, we are coming to the end of our annual truck sales video. I really like making these videos just to get a sense for where the market is and where the industry really is. And I think the headlines are the industry is still strong overall. Lots of trucks are selling, lots of brands had positive years. And then the other headline has to be that Ram and Stellantis as a whole had a terrible 2024. They are the clearest loser, while just about everybody else, I'd say, is a winner. So yeah, that is it for this video. Now, of course, I need to hear from you. Drop in the comments. Let me know what you think about everything you just heard. Sales in Canada versus the US. Do you have any thoughts? I would love to hear them. As always, while you're down below, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we are testing next. See ya.